Welcome, future healthcare professionals. I am so excited to kick off this explainer because today we're diving into the absolute foundational science of your entire career. We're talking about biology. And look, whether you're training to be a nurse, a physician, a lab tech, or a public health advocate, your ability to actually heal and protect people starts right here, with understanding life at its most fundamental level. Today, we're going to explore exactly how these core foundational principles translate directly into the vital skills you'll be using every single day in the clinic. So, let's get into it. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll cover your foundation for healthcare, branches of medical science, the vital signs of life, from cells to whole patients, and finally, why your practice needs biology. All right, section 1, your foundation for healthcare. Let's start at square one. To really understand our patients, we kind of need to look at the word itself, right? Biology actually comes from two ancient Greek words. You've got bios, which means life, and logos, which means study. So put them together, and biology is literally the scientific study of life, the whole shebang. It encompasses everything: how living organisms function, how they grow, how they reproduce, and how they interact with their environment. I mean, it covers literally all forms of life you'll encounter. Everything from that microscopic bacteria causing an infection in a wound, all the way up to the estimated 30 trillion cells making up the incredibly complex human being sitting right there in your waiting room. Now, you might be wondering, why is biology so heavily emphasized in your training? Well, because it gives you your vital tools. Biology is exactly what allows us to understand the human body and overall health. It's the engine behind developing life-saving medicines and vaccines. But it's actually even bigger than that. It helps us improve agriculture to ensure our communities are fed, protects the environment, and helps solve biological problems affecting society as a whole. Ultimately, your future role in healthcare is, at its core, a biological problem-solving role. Moving on to section 2, branches of medical science. So this broad study of life breaks down into the specific languages you're actually going to speak in the clinic and the lab. You've got fields like zoology for animals and botany for plants. But for human healthcare, you really want to pay close attention to microbiology, which is the study of microorganisms, and genetics, the study of heredity and variation. These two branches are massive. They directly inform how you'll diagnose a viral or bacterial infection and how you'll understand a patient's inherited genetic conditions. Oh, and we definitely can't forget ecology, the study of interactions between organisms and their environment. That is absolutely crucial when we start thinking about how a patient's living environment impacts their overall health. But for anyone stepping into a healthcare role, these next two branches are your daily bread and butter. And the crucial thing here is really grasping the difference between them. Anatomy is the study of the physical structure of organisms. Think of it as the physical geography of your patient. Where exactly is the heart? What shape is that femur? Physiology, on the flip side, is the study of the functions of those living organisms. How does that heart actually pump blood? How does that broken bone heal? You absolutely cannot effectively treat a patient without mastering both the structure and the function. All right, section 3, the vital signs of life. Let's look at what actually makes something alive. All living organisms, and yes, that means every single patient you will ever treat, share these 7 defining characteristics. We're looking at organization, metabolism, growth and development, reproduction, response to stimuli, homeostasis, and adaptation. To give you an idea, organization just means living things are built out of one or more cells. Growth and development means organisms actually increase in size and change over time. Response to stimuli, that's how living things react to their surroundings, like a patient instinctively flinching away from pain. But let's zoom in on a couple of these that are practically your job description in healthcare. Take a really close look at this concept, homeostasis. The textbook definition is maintaining a stable, internal environment despite external changes. But think about what you actually do in the clinic when you check a patient's temperature, or measure their blood pressure, or run a basic metabolic panel. What are you really doing? You're checking their homeostasis. Illness is very, very often just a failure of homeostasis. And your job? Your job will be to use medical interventions to help their body get back to that stable, perfectly balanced internal environment. And right alongside that is metabolism. This is the performance of chemical reactions to obtain and use energy. So when you're wondering why a specific drug gets broken down so quickly in the liver, or why a patient is feeling incredibly fatigued, you're dealing with their metabolism. It represents the essential, completely necessary chemical reactions your patients rely on to get the energy they need to heal, grow, and just survive. Which brings us to section 4, from cells to whole patients. This is where it all connects. Life is incredibly highly structured, and understanding that structure is basically your map to finding the root cause of a disease. It's like a giant puzzle that builds upward, starting all the way down at the micro level. First, we begin with the completely invisible atom. Those atoms bind together to form molecules. Then, those molecules combine to build organelles, which are like the little functional machines inside a cell. And finally, we reach the cell itself. And as biology defines it, the cell is the fundamental basic unit of life. Remember our first characteristic of life a minute ago? All living things are made of one or more cells. So many of the diseases you're going to treat, from cancers to viral infections, they start right here at this invisible, microscopic cellular level.
But of course, we don't just treat individual cells, right? We treat people. So let's scale up to the macro levels. All those individual cells group together to form tissues, like your muscle tissue. Then, those tissues combine to form an organ, like the heart. Organs work together in an organ system, like your cardiovascular system. And boom, all those systems working in harmony make up the complete organism, your patient. What this means for you clinically is that when you're treating a whole patient, a full body symptom is almost always the result of a microscopic failure happening several levels down, deep in their organs, their tissues, or their cells.
And guess what? The biological organization doesn't just magically stop at the clinic doors. Organisms definitely do not exist in a vacuum, so they group into even higher levels. Organisms form a population. Different interacting populations form a community. Communities interact with their physical environment to form an ecosystem. And all the ecosystems together, that makes up the entire biosphere. Now, why should a nurse or a doctor care about that? Well, because environmental factors have a profound impact on individual health. Think about epidemiology, how an infectious disease spreads, or how local air pollution triggers respiratory issues. Yes, you are treating the individual organism, but that organism lives, works, and breathes in a much wider biological world. Finally, Section 5, why your practice needs biology. Let's bring it all home. We've talked definitions and structures, but let's talk about the real-world impact. Studying biology is absolutely not just some academic hurdle you have to jump over before you get to the real medical stuff. It literally is the exact mechanism you will use to understand life processes and improve healthcare. Every single time you administer a vaccine or recommend a specific nutritional plan or advise someone on environmental health risks, you are relying directly on biological scientific advancement. And on a global scale, studying biology is what increases food production and conserves natural resources, both of which tie directly back into the public health and safety of the communities you'll serve. I love how our source material beautifully summarizes this whole concept. It says, biology is the scientific study of life. It explains how living organisms function, survive, reproduce, and interact with their environment. It's literally the instruction manual for the human body. Understanding biology is the superpower that enables us to solve health, environmental, and agricultural problems. That alone makes it one of the absolute most important sciences in the modern world, and without a doubt, the core pillar of your medical training. So we've seen that understanding biology is what truly enables us to solve society's most pressing health problems. From identifying totally invisible microscopic pathogens to maintaining a patient's full body homeostasis, it all starts right here with the foundational concepts we've covered in this explainer today. So as you step forward into your medical training, the only question left for you is this. Armed with the science of life, will you be the one to solve tomorrow's greatest health challenges? Thank you so much for joining me, and please keep that incredible curiosity alive as you continue your amazing journey into healthcare.